So good evening to all of you. I see a lot of good evening messages over here. Right. Request you not to raise your hands. Just put in the questions or anything that you have in the chat, any responses in the chat box itself. Yeah. Or if you explicitly want to ask any questions, you can use the Q&A option. Yeah, for asking the questions. Okay, with those basic guidelines aside, I once again welcome you to this edition of the webinar with Burlington English. My name is Swapnil, and thank you for joining in. So this session specifically is cultivating a culture of curiosity in the classroom through fostering a love for learning, empowering students to ask questions, explore ideas, and think critically. Also to encourage the students' creativity, adaptability, and problem-solving skills. We have our expert with us, Dr. Neeta Bali. I'll just introduce her to you, and then we'll get started. So Dr. Neeta Bali is a highly experienced and accomplished educational professional. She has over 35 years of rich experience in teaching, administration, and leadership. She has a very impressive career, too short a time to completely get into over here, with a proven track record of achieving academic excellence, developing leaders, and enhancing educational programs. Her expertise encompasses curriculum development, instructional coaching, staff training, uh, of course, demonstrating her dedication to fostering excellence in education. She's also a recipient of several prestigious awards and recognitions. And yes, without much ado, I would like Dr. Neeta Bali to take over this session. And yes, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Swapnil, for a wonderful introduction. Good evening to everyone. It's such a pleasure to meet you all on a Saturday evening, and I hope I make it worthwhile for all of you. The topic, of course, is very, very interesting and something which is very close to, I'm sure, most educators' hearts, because a classroom has to be a very vibrant place and can only become vibrant when when you're able to nurture curiosity amongst children. Curiosity inevitably leads to asking questions. You're answering questions or they're discovering questions by ferreting out information using various sources, empowering children to learn. So, curiosity, in fact, is a very important tool if you want to empower the kids. We often talk about this beautiful term, which is called student agency. When I say student agency, what the term implies is the fact that children should be empowered to take responsibility for their own learning. So I think most educators today are moving away from a didactic style of learning where you don't stand on a pedestal and talk down to children. We are edging towards a style of learning where children are prodded to look for information and the spirit of inquiry. The term spirit of inquiry and student agency, incidentally, both come from the IB education. Having been associated with a large IB school as a director for 12 years, it's inevitable that I will use a lot of such terms, but I think it's a generic term. Today it's a generic term which is common to almost all curricula. So whatever curriculum you are teaching, I think encouraging children to find out information by prodding them to ask questions and stirring their curiosity is a done deal, because you cannot have a classroom where the child is a passive recipient of information. A classroom has to be a very vibrant place where children are equally responsible, as I said, for their learning, and they're empowered to ask questions. And we don't turn away their questions. In fact, we encourage them to ask more and more questions. So that's what cultivating a culture of curiosity within a classroom is all about. Can we go to the next slide, please? So why cultivate curiosity in a classroom? What's the need for creating curiosity in a classroom? I'm sure all of you agree that, when you're told something by somebody, it may stay with us, it may not stay with us. But when we ask questions and we find answers and we find solutions to problems, or what we see as problems, it leads to lifelong learning, greater engagement, and a much, much deeper understanding that goes beyond the walls of a classroom. And of course, it stays much longer with you. And most children are, I think, curiosity is inborn in children. Right from a very young age, when you see toddlers, in fact, when toddlers start to ask you questions, and sometimes they ask strange questions. So it starts with toddlers and it goes on throughout their student life. So students who are curious tend to ask questions. And when you ask questions, you look for answers. And when you look for answers, you will obviously explore ideas. You will try and make connections because learning never happens in silos. Learning can never happen in small pockets. I'm sure all of you agree. And this enriches their academic experience. So, asking questions, curiosity is about asking questions, exploring, finding information, putting it to use, reflecting, and then revisiting that information and applying that information in real life. So a curious mindset is very, very important. I just used this term, student agency. A curious mindset is absolutely very essential for taking ownership for their own learning and enhancing the whole learning experience. Now, in today's world, I think the world is changing, the education landscape is changing so fast. If children have to be up to date, adaptable, innovative, and also resilient to change, adaptable and resilient, then they will have to ask questions and find solutions. Can we show a small video? The next slide is a small video about how children think about curiosity. What to children is curiosity? If you could just play this video.
Go.
Starts with us.
Take one.
Curiosity.
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 Do you know what it means to be curious?
Oh, curious. I know that word.
Okay.
Curious means when you want to know about everything in this world. For example, how does a whale sleep?
I do think it makes you smarter.
I think being curious is a good thing because you can learn new things by asking questions.
You can learn from the person you're asking and they can learn from what they're saying.
When I want to be someone's friend, I ask them a lot of questions.
What their name is, how are they doing?
What's your favorite color? What's your favorite place to go? And what's your favorite book?
What's their favorite subject in school?
Do you like dresses or pants or shirts?
I feel like being curious is kind of like investigating.
Being curious led me to something new that I never did before.
You learn about new things in the world and you learn about what you can do and how you can do it.
Sometimes we don't know that assumption could be true or false.
It's important to figure out what's true and what's not, like exactly what happened, because a lot of it could be just crazy and a lot of it could be like actually true, and then everyone ends up being like, what is true and what's not.
I think it's okay to be curious. I mean, I get curious sometimes.
Asking questions and being curious is a smart thing to do because
It will help you understand their point of view.
My curiosity led me to something new.
being curious is about asking questions and also is about listening.
Just talk to them. You just have to listen to the other person to see what he has to say before you speak up and be mean.
It's a good thing because you can get smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. I love being curious. Make it a habit to listen.
Make it a habit to ask questions, to understand where the other person is coming from.
Don't get serious, get curious.
Get
Thank you. I'm sure you love the last few lines. Huh? Don't get furious, get curious. I just love that. And I really want to ask you, because this webinar, so to say, is not going to be one-way thing. It's not a monologue at all. It's a dialogue, and maybe I have a few things to tell you, and I'm curious to know what you think, right? So I'd like to, in fact, you can put your answers in the chat box, and be lovely if you can tell me which school are you from and how do you think, how would you like to respond? I'm sure all of you as teachers are doing a lot of curiosity sparking activities. So quickly, can anyone tell me 3 or 4 curiosity sparking activities that they do in class? Quickly, if we can have somebody share. Do we have any answers? Curiosity sparking activities. So get
Yes.
curious and not curious. So any
Shilpa ma'am says,
curiosity,
yeah,
yeah.
Shilpa ma'am says treasure hunt and
Oh,
riddle,
lovely. Riddles, yeah, yeah. Riddles,
questioning, taking things in a bag, conducting experiments, exhibiting objects, finding
lovely.
word meanings, lot of answers, quiz, hot seat
Yeah,
activity.
treasure hunt. Who said something about putting things in a bag? In fact, that was something I wanted to talk about. Who's that? Who said something about putting things in a bag? You know what
Uh,
that's really called? That's called,
Navita ma'am.
somebody called it a jadui pitara. I could see somebody use the term jadui pitara. How lovely. Um, right. So jadui pitara, in fact, I wanted to talk about jadui pitara and I wanted to call it a curiosity kit. So whoever spoke about a jadui pitara, yeah, Rebecca Ray says, if we do any activity with jadui pitara. Now, I think that's the curiosity kit that we are talking about. So as we go on, we'll a box or anything that contains, let us say you pick up any one theme, you pick up animals, and then you put a lot of things associated with that animal, all right, in that pit, so that children are able to relate what that animal is all about. However, you can always modify this jadui pitara. You can always put a number of random things there, and also ask children to make connections. So that's definitely sparking curiosity, questioning. Yes. And then take things in a bag. That's the Jadui Pitara or the Curiosity Kit. Somebody said, where are we? Take things in conducting experiments, exhibiting objects. Yeah. Finding word meanings. Yes. Any other? Any other? So Jadui Pitara, of course. So some of the curiosity sparking activities that I'd like to talk about before we move on to the next thing. You heard the children. Children completely understand the term curiosity. I'm sure so do you. Some of the things that you could do, Jadui Pitara, of course, is one. That is a curiosity kit. So what is a curiosity kit? It's a box containing materials which are related to a specific topic. And of course, it could be plants, rocks, vegetables, insects. You can narrow it down to the child's interest or child's inquiring mind. As I said, you can also put random objects and then ask children to make corrections. Motivating children to ask questions. Often we as teachers and parents, we often say that children should be encouraged to ask questions, but we don't have the patience to answer them. Don't stop the children when they ask questions. Encourage them to ask questions. Motivate them to ask questions. Somebody had also spoken about word games. Most definitely, word games that you play with children will encourage them, will encourage a development of language. It will help to build their vocabulary. It will definitely ignite an inquiring mindset. And sometimes it can get exasperating, but stay at it because I think it goes a long way. I'm a great lover of outdoors. So, sparking outdoor curiosity, when you take children for a nature walk, younger children, when you take them for a nature walk, they observe things around them, they're bound to ask questions. And when they ask questions, perhaps some answers they can find themselves and you can help them with some answers. So sparking curiosity outdoors. So showing children the world around, when you're taking them out, showing them the weather, talking about, and from there on, talking about global warming, talking about endangered species, talking about deforestation, talking about animals and which animals are becoming extinct. So all these conversations can happen around questions. And I think it's really important not to confine ourselves to textbooks. Often when I talk to a lot of my teachers, I find that they restrict themselves to the textbooks, and for teachers, they are under a pressure to complete whatever curricular syllabus, so to say, they have been given. But do remember, till grade 8, you have complete freedom to experiment and innovate and do what you want and enrich your learning. Treasure hunt, word treasure hunt, puzzles, wonderful. Um, Quizzes, summary is written. I don't know what is the Anita Kumari, if you can tell us what is the hot seat activity. This sounds very interesting. Anita, if you could quickly tell us what is the hot seat activity. I don't know. Are you there, Anita? And if you'd like to speak.
It's a
Sounds
guessing,
really
it's a word guessing activity. It could be done in multiple ways. Like the student sits facing the class and there's something written behind him. And the
Yeah.
class has to make the student guess or the other way around what the word is by asking questions and eliciting responses.
Okay, I was really not aware. Role play and Damsharaz, I'm sure everyone knows Damsharaz, rapid fires, hot questions. Imitating teachers, that's a slightly tough one. I would encourage children to do that. Storytelling, yes. Adding a different ending to a story, beautiful. And in most language games, adding a different ending to a story, that's a very interesting one. Then science experiments, crossword puzzles, magic boxes, solving puzzles, Damsharaz. So numberless things. But I also want to ask you, why is it important to do these curiosity sparking activities? Can you give me one or two really good reasons? Why is it important? Why is it so important today to encourage these curiosity sparking activities in the classroom? What would your classroom look like if there were no such activities? I'm sure everyone understands your classrooms would look very, very dull, uninviting, very boring. And what should I say? And that's why I didn't want this to be a monologue. So, if there were no curiosity sparking activities, anyone would like to speak up and say, if you raise your hand and speak up, that will be wonderful. If just two responses, please, one or two responses on why are curiosity sparking activities just so important in a class? Why are they just so important in a class? Oh, this is a lovely one. What if the earth was square? What an interesting question. Okay. Anyone? Well, as I said, if you did not have these curiosity sparking activities in your classroom or warm up activities, in fact, your curiosity sparking activities can double up as warm up activities before you start a lesson. But if you don't have curiosity sparking activities, as I said, your classes probably would be very dull, very uninteresting, and children definitely would not look forward to your classes. So there are question and answers. We'll take those questions a little later in the last Q&A session. Can we go to the next slide, please? So what is curiosity in education? How would you define the term curiosity? Simple. A classroom where children treat them, they feel they're safe to ask questions. When you create a safe space for children to ask questions, that is a classroom where curiosity is nurtured. A classroom where children are allowed to answer and to seek answers. If they don't know the answers, as I said, allowed to answer without any inhibition, without any fear, without any apprehension. And if they don't know the answers and they give an incorrect answer, you will have a non-judgmental response from a teacher. Teachers, I think we really, I mean, I've been speaking about this so often 3 or 4 things. We need to be so non-judgmental as teachers today, because the impact that you are going to make on the children, particularly the younger children, is the impact which is going to last a long, lifelong. Um, and it will also shape their attitudes. So seeking answers, and if you give a wrong answer, getting a non-judgmental response, and somebody, the teacher or somebody else in the class, giving the correct answer and saying, I'm here to help you. That's the message we want to give the children. And exploring new concepts. Tell them, don't be scared of exploring. A classroom has to be a place of exploration. And in this regard, I'd also like to say very quickly, if you want to create the safe space, so to say, please do not have auditorium style seating in your classrooms. Discourage auditorium style seating in your classrooms, particularly in younger classes. Because today, I'm sure all good schools restrict the number of students in a classroom. So either have a horseshoe or a semicircle, or you can have group seating, but discourage auditorium style seating, which just kills creativity completely. And if you're forced to do it because you have too many kids in the class, make sure there are aisles where you can walk. So it's an environment that values inquiry, critical thinking, and creativity. Now, inquiry, we already spoke about, asking questions, finding answers, ferreting out information. In international curriculum, there's something called units of inquiry. These units of inquiry are transdisciplinary in nature. Let me explain very quickly. If I take the unit of inquiry, let us say money. If money is the unit of inquiry, the same theme will run across English, Hindi, math, social science, and science. So, and then you have final lines of inquiry. All right. So in math, of course, you will teach money with multiplication, division, subtraction, so on and so forth. In English, you could talk about, you could weave, you could have a story which is related to money. In social science, you could go into the history of money, how it started with barter system, with people exchanging things in order to get something else. It started with barter, and then how it graduated to coins made of metal, and subsequently, of course, it became notes, and now it's e-money. So something like that. Now, critical thinking. What is your understanding of critical thinking? If any one or two of you'd like to answer, if some of you'd like to answer, and I'd love to read your answers, please. What do you think? How do you interpret the term critical thinking? I'm scrolling quickly so I can read. So I'm waiting for your answer. What, according to you, is critical thinking? See, I'm not here to give all the answers. That's curiosity, and that's student agency and your students today. So critical thinking, anyone? Making predictions? Okay, great. Somebody else?
A lot of the responses
Encouraging?
are thinking out of
Encouraging?
the box.
Sorry?
Thinking out of the box is what a lot of participants are saying.
Thinking out of the box? Yeah, you'll have to help me, Swapnil. I'm not able to scroll so fast for some reason.
So thinking in a different manner, logical thinking with reasoning, more practical problem solving, higher order thinking. These are some of the responses.
Yes, higher
Analyzing
order
ideas.
thinking skills. Yeah, yeah. So essentially, critical thinking is being able to look at a problem, try and resolve that problem in as best a manner as possible, and think about it critically, looking at the different facets and different aspects, and then finding solutions after weighing the pros and cons. So deep thinking and higher order thinking skills. And that is very necessary if you want to encourage creativity in your classroom, because today education is not about rote learning and regurgitating in the exams. I think and people now, education is going beyond grades, and education essentially is about holistic learning and development of skills. teachers do remember that, for everyone now, I think education is a means to an end. And when we say education is a means to an end, what we are saying is education is supposed to instill skills which are necessary to survive and thrive and prosper in today's world. So when we educate children, are we teaching them the skills of questioning, the skills of critical thinking, skills of problem solving, uh, skills of creativity, skills of articulation, and conflict resolution, more important than anything else. And yet more important, resilience and the ability to be able to cope with failure and to realize that failure is only an indicator that you need to change direction. Failure is not the end of the road. So please do remember that education is a means to an end. We have to encourage these skills in the classroom. And these skills can only be encouraged if we don't give children everything on a platter. You don't pick up a book and start to read a lesson from a book. You start by stirring their curiosity. You start with a lot of questions and then arrive at answers and maybe then go to your book. Of course, when somebody talked about warm up, I think curiosity should be stirred at that point, at the warm up point. Giving a situation to explore, memory games. I don't know, being in water, how would that, I'm sure it's just curiosity, why not? Giving a situation to explore, yes. Why am I going back to the same thing over and over again? Right. Finding solution. That's a lovely one. Finding solutions in different ways. And we are just going to speak about it. In a bit, we are going to speak about convergent and divergent thinking. Actually, you're all doing all of this, I'm sure. But you're only learning jargon that now you can mix and match. So here, somebody was telling me what hot seat means. Classroom should be interesting, interactive. It should be mutual. Wonderful. Classroom is mutual. I love that word. When we say classroom is mutual, what we are trying to say is it is not teacher's territory. Teachers should not have monopoly in the classroom. In fact, now I think most teachers address themselves as co-learners. And I think that's a beautiful word. Not merely are you teaching. Earlier, it was teachers, then it became facilitators. But I think today, I'm very fond of this term co-learners. Teachers today are co-learners with the children because children are teaching you so much. Right. So teachers play a very crucial role in modeling curiosity, asking thought-provoking questions, and fostering a sense of wonder. As we just spoke about, I spoke about encouraging outdoor curiosity. You can make that come alive so beautifully when you take children out. I have had teachers give me a demonstration for a lesson in physics. A teacher who told me he'd like to give me a demonstration in a physics lesson and outdoors, and he did that. There was a fish pond outside my office where I worked as head of school, and he gave me a demonstration there, and all children had thronged around him. And I think it was the most fabulous demonstration. Of course, it was followed by a classroom session. But that impact is going to stay with those kids forever, forever. A curious classroom celebrates exploration, allows students to see mistakes as part of the learning process. However exasperated we are from our homes, and let me tell you, I think that baggage that teachers carry from their homes is immense, immense. However, I would say dump that baggage behind and allow children to make mistakes. They'll love you for it. And do remember, it's not the toppers that you produce who will remember you so much. It's the ones who felt loved and listened to, and who felt acknowledged and who felt that you had the tolerance to allow them to make mistakes. Those are the ones for whom you will be a favorite teacher. I can vouch for that. Can we go to the next slide? What are benefits of a curious classroom? So, as I said, students feel empowered. Students feel they're also an important entity. They feel empowered, they seek answers, they learn faster, the learning stays, and they explore new concepts. So it's an environment that values inquiry, critical thinking, creativity as key components. So teachers play a crucial role by modeling curiosity, asking thought-provoking questions. Now that's very, very important. And here I'd want you to tell me, let's say if I were talking about a polar bear, can any two or three teachers ask some thought-provoking questions about a polar bear? Let's say if we were students and you were to ask a question about polar bears. Anybody who would want to ask a thought-provoking question about a polar bear? As I said, this is not a monologue, please. Are you able to read, Swapnil? Anything that's come from the teachers?
So I can, Suchita ma'am says, what is the polar bear? So that is the question I see. Some responses like hibernation is what I see, but that's not a question. Why they are only white in color?
That is a thought-provoking question. Beautiful. Why are polar bears white in color? Fantastic. We'll just answer that together. Swapnil, do you read any other thought-provoking questions?
How do polar bears survive in such cold weather?
Beautiful. How do polar bears survive in such cold weather? And
How far they swim and how long can they hold their breath?
oh, lovely. That's a fabulous one. I don't know the answer to that one. We'll have to find the answer. The first one was, why are the polar bears white? That was the one. Why are the
Yes.
polar bears white in color?
Yeah.
Polar bears are white. I'm presuming, I'm not a science teacher. If I were a student, I would say they're white because they blend with snow. So it's easy to survive. Camouflage. I mean, that's what I would say. Some other student may have something else to say. Somebody else who has a really interesting one on why are the polar bears white? If you can give me a really, really crazy one about why are the polar bears white? Anyone? Of course, they look so cute. However, having said that, I think the major reason is they're able to camouflage. And the second one was, how long can they? Why do they hibernate? That was a question, Swapnil.
Yes, yes. How many
Why
polar
do they
bears are
hibernate?
in the wild? That's also another, like, lot of questions are there.
I'm not able to read the questions actually. I'm trying to see if I can pick up two or three. One sec. But I'm not moving fast enough. Oh, that's another these are some of the questions that before going back to the polar bear, it makes the class monotonous if there is no curiosity. Fosters creativity, empathy, lovely. Deeper understanding of the topic, fabulous. Ice breaking, where was it? Ice breaking towards beautiful. Venkateshwara, thank you. It's ice breaking towards new learning. I'm going to put it in my presentation. It's ice breaking towards new learning. Beautiful. Beautiful term. Um, fosters, fosters, fosters active hands-on learning, right? Something to do with fosters active hands-on learning. Wow, lovely. Shalini Arora, thank you. Curiosity creates suspense and leads children to speak. Beautiful. So you're the ones who are conducting the webinar. Curiosity creates suspense and leads children to speak. Lovely. I love these two, the ice breaking and this one. Love and excitement. Yes. Nurtures love and excitement. Shall we go back to polar bears? Thinking out of the box and learning beyond the books. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thinking out of the box and learning beyond the books. That's what real learning is. I only hope that educators in all schools realize that we do not have to test them on what is learned by rote and regurgitated in the exam, that we are able to make portfolios and other ways of assessing them. But all said and done, learning has to be a delightful experience, nurturing a desire to know or learn. Lovely, lovely. Lovely. So we were on polar bears. Why are polar bears white? Why do they hibernate? They need to hibernate in order to preserve, uh, all the food that they've eaten. So they don't, they live off the food that they have eaten when it's not been snowing. So they hibernate, so their energy is conserved. So when children start to ask questions like this, out of sheer curiosity, you would find a lot of answers. You would find a lot of answers. So fostering a sense of wonder about the world. Anyone who wants to speak about any other question which they think is absolutely brilliantly curious question? Anyone? Please feel free to raise a hand. Have you muted the participants? Somebody who raises the hand can be unmuted.
Yeah, they'll be only be able to respond in the chat, ma'am. Like,
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Somebody who has a brilliantly curious question, please. Patting back. What is this? Putting front to curious mood. Anyways, so you can ask any number of thought-provoking questions. You know, they say the movement of a butterfly's wings can cause Swapnil, what can they cause? But the fluttering of a butterfly's wings can cause tornadoes, and a very strange one. All right.
okay,
Or
I'm
tsunamis.
not aware of that actually. Sorry.
Yeah. Fluttering of butterflies' wings can cause tornadoes and also cause tsunamis, can cause a tsunami, I'm told. So teachers play a very crucial role in modeling curiosity, asking thought-provoking questions, fostering a sense of wonder. A curious classroom celebrates exploration. The important thing is when children ask questions, however stupid you might think those questions are, look at them carefully. You are going to find something interesting in those questions. Celebrate questions. Santosh Kumari, thank you for explaining critical thinking is the process of analyzing facts and information to form a judgment or decide if something is right or wrong. Thank you. So a curious classroom celebrates learning. A curious classroom celebrates questions. A curious classroom celebrates a spirit of inquiry. Can we go to the next one?
Yes.
Now I'm going to talk about different kinds of thinking. And these are terms you should know. What is convergent thinking? See, the term is self-explanatory. When we are teaching in a classroom, one kind of thinking we teach is convergent and none of them are wrong. So what is convergent thinking? Convergent thinking is focusing on finding a single correct solution to a well-defined problem. Usually it will happen in subjects like math. It's often associated with analytical tasks and very clear outcomes. Because when you have, let us say, addition or subtraction, there aren't too many options, right? So that is convergent thinking. Solving math problems, answering factual questions, decision making based on set criteria. Convergent thinking focuses on logic and reasoning. And it's very important for students to develop the ability to focus their thinking and then tackling straightforward problems. So you also need to understand when we say curiosity in a classroom, we have to keep in mind that there are subjects where you may not be able to use curious thinking too much. You can, but still there will be more convergent thinking. So here in convergent thinking, subjects like math, analytical, logical subjects use convergent thinking. So teachers can promote convergent thinking by posing questions that require students to arrive at a single correct answer or solution. So encourage convergent thinking, but even in convergent thinking, try and encourage children to ask as many questions as possible. Can we go to the next kind of thinking, please? Now, divergent thinking. It's again self-explanatory. Divergent thinking encourages students to generate multiple possible solutions or ideas. And for this, you need to have open-ended questions and creative tasks. So if you want to encourage curiosity in the classroom, use divergent thinking. Use divergent thinking. How? You ask children to sit together, discuss, and brainstorm. Ask the children to write creative stories. Somebody had written, in the chat box that one of the ways we can encourage creativity is by asking children to give a different ending to a story. So that's creativity and that's curiosity. So brainstorming, creative stories, multiple uses for an object. Show them an object. Let them not restrict themselves to the conventional use of the object because children have very strong imaginations and they are able to give you multiple answers for what we think there is a single answer. So always encourage children to use divergent thinking because divergent thinking will definitely spark creativity, will spark curiosity, flexibility, and originality. And originality will lead to innovation in new ideas. So please ask open-ended questions and encourage divergent thinking in the classrooms, particularly in subjects in languages, social sciences, and even science for that matter. Of course, in science, it may be a little less, but nevertheless, it can be done in science as well. Can we go to the next kind of thinking? And then there is flexible thinking. So flexible thinking is adapting one's thinking in response to changing information or new perspectives. So as you have been saying, so many of you have written, thinking out of the box. Thinking out of the box. That is flexible thinking. Flexible thinking is rethinking an approach. Suppose you received a feedback, an approach, switching strategies when faced with a challenge or looking at a problem from different perspectives. And this helps you to promote adaptability and help students to manage uncertainty by encouraging them to consider multiple approaches. So encourage students to try different approaches to problems to see mistakes as opportunities for learning and growth. So definitely convergent, divergent, and flexible. Flexible is reinventing answers. Reinventing. Is there anybody here who can give me an example of having used flexible thinking in the classroom? Anyone who's allowed children to use flexible thinking in the classrooms? Someone has spoken about informed decision making. Wonderful. Flexible thinking. Any concrete example of flexible thinking? Anyone? Somebody's spoken about a flipped classroom. Yes. But flexible thinking?
Picture talk activity is what someone has said.
Picture talk activity. Picture talk activity. Yeah, it could trigger flexible thinking. Yes. because different children will interpret picture differently. Yes. How wonderful. Mr. Venkateshwar said again, students are the real scales to measure teachers' curiosity levels. Another beautiful question for curiosity. Why is it that only the month of February has 28 days while all others have 30? There was something about polar bears having a transparent what?
So there is one response here giving different ending to a story. So that could be a
Yeah,
flexible.
yeah. What are the current legal protections for polar bears and what additional measures might be necessary to safeguard their future? Oh, this is a lovely one. Miss Samana Neer. I love this. If birds can fly so high, why don't they fly into space? Fabulous. I think polar bears can swim. I'm reading randomly, so bear with me if I'm missing out something you've written and I've not read. Flexible thinking is the ability to think in a new or different way, out of the box. So Rashmi Singh, that's what I'm saying. Give me an example. Dr. Arun Agarwal says adapting methods. Each student is open to trying different approaches rather than sticking rigidly to one method. Great, that's flexible thinking. Okay. Yeah, start with one sentence and then ask students to speak one sentence and create a story. Okay, okay. All right, all right. Okay. So flexible thinking, I think all of us have understood convergent, divergent, and flexible. And I think the most popular is or should be flexible thinking because that's where more and more curiosity can be nurtured. Can we go to the next one, please? Here's something very interesting, and I want all of you to please make a note of this. SCAMPER technique. What is SCAMPER? And it's so easy to remember if you call it SCAMPER. So it's a tool for creative thinking. What is SCAMPER? S. S is substitute. What can be replaced or substituted to improve? SCAMPER S, substitute. What can be replaced in this or substituted to improve or change the outcome? C is combine. What can be combined to create something new? When you want to create something new, let's combine. Adapt. How can an existing idea or solution be adapted to fit a new purpose? Magnify. What can be magnified or exaggerated for effect or improvement? What can be magnified? P is put to another use. How can an idea or item be used differently than originally intended? Eliminate whatever is not necessary. E, eliminate. Something doesn't fit in, eliminate. And R, rearrange. How can elements be rearranged or reordered to create a new outcome? So try and use SCAMPER technique for creative thinking and for nurturing curiosity in a classroom. That is very, very important. All right. So, and this is easy to remember. SCAMPER. S, substitute. C, combine. A, adapt. M, magnify. P, put to another use. E, eliminate. And R, rearrange. Shall we go to the next one, please? We'll just play this video.
Are you tired of traditional education methods?
Stop playing. Stop it.
Well, there's a new approach that's gaining popularity: gamification in education. Gamification is the integration of game elements into educational activities. It can make learning more engaging and interactive. By incorporating game mechanics, like points, levels, and rewards, students are motivated to participate. It can also create a sense of fun and competition. Studies have shown that gamified learning can improve student motivation and performance. Gamification also fosters collaboration among students, as they can work together to achieve goals. It encourages problem-solving and critical thinking skills. Furthermore, gamified learning allows for personalized and adaptive learning experiences.
Are we done? Can we go to the next one? Yeah. So what is gamification? And this is an easy one to use for a simple reason that that gaming, I think, is becoming very, very popular. So gamification integrates game elements where students tend to score. It becomes competitive. There are rewards for winning. There are different levels. You move from one level to another. So gamification can be used very effectively in the classroom to enhance student engagement, particularly in math and English. For that matter, even in science. The example of gamification: quizzes with rewards, team challenges, classroom competitions, leaderboards, and digital learning games. Benefits: they obviously not merely do they enhance the interest of the children, children feel that much more engaged, and there is much more active participation and there is collaboration. The other thing is you get instant feedback. Sorry. So if you get instant feedback, your interest will be sustained. You're able to sustain the interest of the students because there is immediate and instant feedback. So, but you have to make sure that game mechanics are aligned with the learning outcomes. Very, very important. Gaming, not for the sake of gaming, but creating a game where learning outcomes, where game mechanics are aligned with the learning outcomes. Otherwise, it will foil the purpose. Anyone who has a very interesting game that they have created, which they want to share with everybody? Come, I'm waiting quickly because we're running out of time. Soon, Swapnil will give me a signal to stop talking.
Yeah, we have few minutes to go, like about 6 minutes. Participants are saying things like spell bee, quiz.
Spell bee. Wow. Okay. Then can you read some more because I'm going slow?
Children are asked to make sentences with sight words.
Okay.
Sight words and yes, those are some of the responses right now.
Okay. All right. All right.
Coding game, value education, puzzles.
Okay.
Just a minute activity.
Right, right. But when you're talking about gamification, what I'm saying is use technology. For gamification, of course, we need to use technology. So you create a quiz with rewards and levels. So let's say it's a math quiz. They have clinched one level, they go to the next one. That's their reward. They've clinched that, they go to the next one. So gamification is very, very powerful way, very popular way. And let me tell you, if you start using gamification, I'm sure your IT teachers can create language games, math games for you. But be very clear that these are the learning outcomes. Let's say if you created a set of 25 questions in level 1 in math. After the child has cleared those 25 questions and has scored, let's say 90 or whatever, give them a score. So there are 5 levels. Let's see what is the score at the end of those 5 levels. It's very interesting for children. It's done either on a screen, on a laptop, or in their computer labs, and it goes very fast and gives you immediate results. So start using gamification in learning, just as we have children addicted to various games that they play on their smartphones. Let's get this going on smartphones, if possible. Next one, please. So another thing is, in a classroom, it's very important to foster a growth mindset. What I'm trying to say is, growth mindset is a belief system that says that Not every kid will come with talent. All right. But as teachers, it is our duty and moral responsibility to embrace them with whatever level of ability they come with. Let's embrace them. Let's make an effort to take them to the next level. Let's appreciate whatever value they add to the class. Let's teach them these three key phrases. Challenges like affirmations. Challenges help me grow. Mistakes are opportunities to learn. I can improve through effort. Classes should always have a growth. So please keep these three affirmations handy. Make children repeat these affirmations in class. The more they repeat, the more they will believe in themselves and the more they'll believe in you. So nurture a growth mindset in the classroom. Can we go to the next one, Swapna? The next one, please. Growth mindset in a classroom uh, consists of reflection. Reflection is it helps students to assess what they have learned, how they have learned it, what is it that can be improved. Every time children are taught something, ask them to reflect. What have I learned? How have I learned it? How much more do I need to learn? How can I improve? Iteration, the process of refining ideas, finding more solutions or projects or repeated cycles of evaluation and improvement. Benefits, encourage the benefits of a growth mindset, encourages deeper understanding of content, fosters a willingness to learn from mistakes, helps students to develop critical thinking skills. That is benefits of reflection and iteration. Key tips, encourage students to self-assess their work, identify, please make reflection sheets in the classroom, period. Make reflection sheets in the classroom. Ask children to write down 5 or 6 questions that they could answer. What is it I learned today? How well have I learned it on a scale of 1 is to 5? What is it that I could not understand? What is it that I understood very well? How can we improve this class? My suggestion to improve this class. And I tell you, they will come out with some brilliant ideas. 20 ideas, and you implement all those 20 ideas in one class, your class will go to, the learning of the children will go to the next level, and your popularity will also go to the next level because people like to be heard. People like to be heard. Can we go to the next one, please? So, instilling collaborative problem solving. Another very important technique for sparking curiosity is collaborative problem solving. Now, when I say collaborative problem solving, making groups and asking children to work on problems. So, group projects, peer learning, team discussions, debates. I'm sure you know all of this. This will help not merely to build their skills of collaboration and communication, it'll help them to also work on their interpersonal skills. It'll teach them that other people with their differences can also be right. Other people with their differences can also be right. Can we please go to the next one? So creating a curious classroom environment stages. A classroom environment that encourages curiosity needs a, remember, open-mindedness. Open-mindedness on the part of the teacher. It is a dynamic classroom. Classroom atmosphere is a place which creates a safe space. When I started, I talked about a safe space where you can express yourself without any fear or inhibition, because nobody is going to look down on you. Nobody is going to judge you. Encourage an open dialogue. Allow students to discuss ideas freely without fear of judgment. Very important, visual stimuli. You know, visual stimuli somehow I feel really stays with children. So display children's work. Display thought-provoking questions. That's very important. Display mind maps. Display mind maps. And here is the thing, please take down, if you can take down, there is this beautiful software called AYOA. AYOA. It's a paid software to create mind maps, will make your life so easy. For example, what is French Revolution? What are the Causes of French Revolution, what are the results? You just have a mind map created within seconds with the use of AI. Use AI in the classrooms. Use AI. So as I said, create mind maps using AYOA. AYOA using artificial intelligence. Because mind maps have a very strong visual stimuli and they stay with the children. I really wish I'd included one and demonstrated how to use it, but maybe another time. The next one, please. What are some of the hurdles? We all know fear of failure. Teachers perpetually. I feel pressured. I have to complete my curriculum. There's no place for inquiry based learning. Good schools are now cutting down on syllabus and focusing more on the process, cutting down the content and focusing more on the process. Please pay attention to the process. Make your classrooms beautiful spaces where people can ask questions, they can open their minds, they can speak without fear, and they can grow. Limited resources, ask your managements to give you resources because all schools may not have the resources. Make a list of resources. I'm sure all managements are happy to provide. Solutions, provide continuous support, model curiosity through your own learning. If you don't have resources, internet, creating your own resources, I'm sure sky's the limit if you go for it. So I'm quite certain that you will be able to create beautiful, curious classrooms, where children will feel treasured and they will flourish. Is that the last slide, please? The next one, please. Swapnil, is that the last one? How to measure curiosity. Yes, this is important. So measuring curiosity, how engaged are students, how many students in your class are engaged? Keep a data. Keep data of how many students were engaged. Who are the backbenchers who were not engaged? Bring them on the front. Or engage them in group activities. If they're shy to speak, engage them in group activities because they may be afraid to speak alone. Formative assessment, reflection, I just told you, reflection journals, portfolios, peer evaluations, and self-assessment. Get students' feedback on what they enjoy learning and how they enjoy learning it. And keep track of the development of their critical thinking and problem-solving skills over time. HPC will come in very handy. Holistic Progress Card. But before that, formative assessment, portfolios, journals, reflective journals, that's very, very important. Portfolios, very important. Maybe sometime we'll do a separate session on portfolios and how to make good portfolios. Peer evaluation, self-assessments. The next one, please. The last one. Next is, okay. So why is it important? I'm not reading this because we've already spoken about it so much. Encouraging student agency, lifelong learning, preparing students to navigate through uncertainties with sense of confidence and innovation, and encouraging their problem-solving abilities. So I think it's Swapnil, now time for Q&A.
Yes, ma'am. There are some questions that I note on how to avoid rote learning and some suggestions for gamification.
There is Anam who says nowadays children are addicted to cell phone. It's leading them as rote-minded. How to stop that? So Anam, my answer to that is all of us are addicted to cell phone, but we have to make a conscious choice. Let us not give smartphones to children randomly at all points of time. Smartphones are not supposed to be babysitters. Restrict their time with the smartphone. That's one. So that's different. It will not lead the rote-minded. Rote learning is something else. Cell phone is addiction to technology. Rote learning is a mindset where teachers will teach you a lesson, teacher-centric class. I always tell teachers in a classroom, the teacher talk time, there is something called TTT, teacher talk time. TTT should be 30%, STT should be 70%. So if STT, student talk time, is 70% and TTT is 30%. It will not be rote learning. Do not read, put questions on the board, dictate answers, and make beautiful notebooks. Stop that. The moment you stop that and you start using all the techniques that we have spoken about, the reflective journal, portfolios, and other such means, and questions that stimulate your thinking rather than ask you for straight answers, which test your higher order thinking skills and critical thinking skills and the ability to give multiple answers to the same question, I think the rote learning will stop. And cell phone, as I said, restrict. You have to draw boundaries. Anu Khatter says, how will the child take more interest in culture? Beautiful, Anu. This is not related so much to this, but I'd still like to say, call people. There are fabulous people in this country who take children. You take your children to the nearest monument, the monument nearest to your school. Take your children to the monument nearest to your school. Ask them to carry a notebook. Ask them to carry a sketch pad and colors and pencils. Ask them to write, draw, express themselves in whatever, or write poetry, write a small essay, draw whatever they see in that building, and then talk about that monument. I can bet my life that the children will be very interested in history and culture. Gamify challenges in classroom that is in context with their subjects and could connect with real life examples. But gamified challenges will have to be worked out in collaboration with your IT teachers. You tell your teachers these are the concepts, let's say math. You want to test, multiplication and division. And of course, all for multiplication, division, addition, subtraction for a certain class. Take it to your IT teacher, say, I want to create a game for this. I want to gamify, so create a game for this and levels of a game. And certainly between you and the IT teacher, you'll be able to create this challenge. And so can the language teachers. And you put it on, you gamify it and put it there and conduct a challenge and ask children to clear different levels and create some kind of scores and of course acknowledge their effort. I think that's the best way to do it, because within our system we will have, you have to have supportive team teaching. Please start team teaching. Parents are only focused on results. Sad but true. Sad but very, very true. I've seen parents who see no value in a career counseling session because my child is preparing for JEE. Eludes me. Because if I'm doing something which tells you about non-conventional streams in engineering, why is it that it's not of interest to the child? Tell parents, have parent orientations. And tell them why skills are important. Very well-educated kids with very high scores may not find very good placements because they're poor communicators. They don't have the skills of articulation, communication, collaboration, problem solving. Tell people, tell parents. How to get the certificate for attending this session will be answered by Swapnil. I think that's pretty much it. So thank you for being such a wonderful audience. You have participated. Thank you for sharing so many ideas. It's always enriching to meet a large group of people who are interested in what you're saying and have so much to offer themselves. So I hope we have also made this a classroom or a space. I wouldn't call it a classroom, but it's a space, an interesting space where you've been able to express your ideas. We've been able to share. Thank you so much, and over to Swapnil.
Thank you, Dr. Neeta Bali, for sharing all her insights and expertise for us and being patient with us and engaging the audience. Thank you so much for your time and for your different suggestions and expertise that you have shared with us. Thank you so much, and all thank you to the participants as well for being so engaging with us throughout the session. And about the query about the certificate, you would receive the certificates in your registered mail if you have attended majority of the webinar today. And for our K-12 English products and our newly launched Burlington Magic of Early Years product details, you can always visit our website at burlingtonenglish.in. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, all of you. Thank you.